Good afternoon. A lot of excitement in the room. I think everyone's excited to be here for the 2023 State of the City event. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kaylee Craig. I am the 2023 chair for the 5-star Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce. I am so excited to welcome you to the State of the City address to be presented by our mayor, Mayor Fred Thomas.
So good afternoon. I'm Mayor Fred Thomas, and welcome to the State of the City. Well, it's a new day in Simi Valley, and I'm so glad you've decided to join us. The city has experienced so many changes over the last year. It feels like all these changes have happened really fast. I can tell you the general attitude around City Hall, it has never been better. Everybody is really excited about the stuff we have going on, and I'm excited to share it with you today. First of all, we have a new mayor. Still out to lunch on that one. And of course, a new council member, Rocky Rhodes, who could not be with us today. He's actually flying to China at the moment. And of course, we have a new chief of police. And I was privileged to be a part of that process, and I couldn't be happier. I think that we have an amazing police department. I know Steve is going to do a great job leading it. We've seen a lot of new construction over the past year in Simi Valley. I don't know if you've paid attention to it, that new industrial complex at Tapo and Los Angeles. That went up so fast, I can't believe it. It's a really nice complex. Well, it's done, and they're starting to move in now, so I'm excited about that. That's a lot of new jobs. Probably the biggest change in the past year have been newly paved streets in the community. Now, I know there's been only so many, but I can tell you right now, we're going to keep doing it. We have many more roads planned in the future, and we're going to stay on top of that. I did want to bring up something. You know, we had a little bit of rain this year, and I'm telling you, our public works guys, literally, we're working daily out trying to chase down those potholes and fixing them, and they worked really hard, and I think we owe them a big thank you for that. As I mentioned, it's been surprising how much rain we've had, multiple storms over multiple months, and that meant not only rain here, but snow where it really counts for our water supply. It's made a significant difference in our drought situation here in California. Of course, we can't count on next year being the same, so we still need to find ways to be more conservative with our water, moving forward, but I'm happy to say that we're in really good shape this year. The city is rolling out a new water conservation tool for those that get their water from Waterworks District 8, which is a good portion of the city. It's called Drop Counter, and this new tool will be rolled out in early May, so be on the lookout for an email from the city. The tool will allow customers, much like what they can do with gas and electric utilities, to see their usage and make changes in behavior if they're using more water than they like. Save water, save money. So if you're a Waterworks District number 8 customer, you will be receiving an email, so look out for that. General fund, money, finance, this is good news. As we get started today, we're going to start with the past. During fiscal year 2021 to 2022, the general fund received $10 million in American Rescue Act plan funding and $1.8 million in CARES funding for COVID revenue loss, and in turn, transferred that money into our streets fund for street maintenance, as you will see more of in just a few minutes. Fiscal year 2021 and 2022, the city once again saw a year in surplus, this time of $10.3 million. The City Council will put those funds aside for future infrastructure and costs in the 23-24 budget adopted in June. Today, the city's finances remain strong, and the City Council continues to prioritize the community's safety, providing a supportive environment for business growth, housing options, and an unbeatable quality of life. I hope you agree with me, Simi Valley is a wonderful place to live. Financially, the city's on strong footing, and we fared well during COVID, better than many of our neighbors, and as a result of long-term conservative fiscal policies that the council has used to manage the budget. So, forecast, looking forward. During the 21 fiscal year, the city closed the books with an $8 million surplus, which was used during fiscal year 2023, this current fiscal year, for major street projects, putting money aside for the city's radio communication equipment, which is being updated to, modern standards, and paying down the city's unfunded liability with CalPERS, a flood hazard assessment study, and hazardous tree removal. Fiscal year 22-23 is anticipated to end with a surplus of approximately $9 million. With these surpluses, it has been fruitful for the city, and we are cautiously watching the economy and not expecting to continue with such large surpluses in the coming years. A component of that healthy budget you just saw are Simi Valley's sales tax revenues, shown here from the second quarter of 2020 to the third quarter of 22, demonstrating resiliency and a strong demand as the economy emerges from the pandemic. As you can see, sales tax revenues increased 5.62% when compared to the second quarter of 21, and 46.19% when compared to the second quarter of 2020, the onset of the pandemic. Funding status. This is really good news. We had major concerns a few years ago about where we were at when it was determined after our unfunded pension liability in the city and what effect it would have on our finances. Well, while CalPERS, the city's pension fund provider, continues to lower the discount rate or anticipated rate of return, the overall investment returns for 2021 were 21.3%, which helps to make up for recent years where we saw less than 7% and 24% loss that we saw during the recession. This brought the city's pension fund to 79% funded. Now remember that our funded benchmark is 80%. That's a pretty good place to be. We were almost there. The CalPERS rate of return for 21-22 was a negative 6.1, which will have a negative impact on our funding status. But we won't know till this fall when that's calculated and we get a report for them. As classic PERS employees retire and leave the workforce, the city will also see an increase in new PERS members whose CalPERS benefits cost the city significantly less, and that's really forward-thinking, for the future. So the city is in an exceptionally strong financial position at the moment, having adopted structural balanced budgets for the last several years and will continue to do so into the future. The city has sufficient funding to address any expected emergency and has a general fund reserve that positions the city with strong financials that are the envy of many of the cities. And the city will continue to invest in the community, and I think you're going to see a lot of that this coming year. So what's on the horizon? While the last 2 years have been financially positive for the city, in looking toward the future, we recognize that inflation is still rising, with CPI at 5.1% in February of 23. Housing sales slowed in Simi Valley during 22. It's likely that the median price increase of over 10% and high borrowing rates were behind this slow trend. And unfortunately, we do not anticipate sales tax revenue growth to slow during 23 and 24. The Fed recently announced another increase in interest rates, the 9th increase since March 22. Future increases are uncertain, but possible and probably probable. California officially ended the state emergency declaration for COVID at the end of February of this year, and the U.S. government is currently planning to end it in May, although I understood from this morning that they're actually working on closing it now. Investors have a mixed market outlook, but mostly optimistic, yet some concerns of recession and market volatility remain. Therefore, we need to be careful moving forward. To help business respond to the market uncertainty of the past few years and to strengthen their footing for the future, the city has developed and implemented a revolving loan program, which launched in January of 23. Administered by the Economic Development Collaborative of Ventura County, this program will provide funding for working capital, job creation, retention, and equipment and inventory purchases for the small business community. Loan amounts can range up to $100,000 at below-market interest rates of 5.25% with an 84-month loan term. As of February 23, the Economic Development Collaborative reported substantial interest in the program, with over $800,000 of revolving loan funds already in application process. During today's presentation, you will receive a lot of information, but I implore you, if you don't do anything else, remember this: the city and staff want to help you no matter what your business is. The revolving loan program is just one tool we have to assist our local businesses. The city's economic development team is a strong partner with our business community, linking users with organizations such as EDCVC, WEV, and SBDC, and so on, all those acronyms. But these entities have many opportunities available, such as grant funding resources and access to capital, employee training and development resources, no-cost business consulting services, and much more. Not sure how to start? No problem. Just call the city and ask for help. Sci-Fi. I saw a few people from that company earlier tonight, expanding our access to fiber. Since internet speeds and availability are a top priority when searching for real estate, the city is excited to offer the best in technology connectivity to continue to bolster economic development. You have likely seen the equipment and vehicles over the last year working in traffic lanes or even in your neighborhood. Through a partnership with Sci-Fi Networks, Sci-Fi is laying fiber at no cost to taxpayers. Faster internet connectivity is on its way to every home and business in the city. The fiber optic network will enable service providers to connect to the highest quality, most technologically capable, fastest internet speed available. The project is currently underway and is expected to take approximately 2 years. All right, new and expanding businesses in Simi Valley. There's some of them right there. Simi Valley continues to be a desirable location for business and their employees. City staff continues to dialogue with businesses looking to call Simi Valley home. In 2022, the city welcomed multiple businesses in the community, such as these. As you can see, Simi Valley excels at attracting businesses. However, the city has taken a proactive approach to ensure that the city has an action-oriented strategic plan that truly reflects the need of Simi Valley and balances the economic development opportunity with community priorities. Staff has been working with the Nadelson Dale Group since January of 22 to complete an economic development study. Through extensive market analysis, community outreach, collaboration with staff and agency partners, Nadelson is nearly complete with the proposed plan. Simi Valley vacancy rates for the industrial, office, and retail sectors are low. A vacant space refers to all space not currently occupied by a tenant, regardless of any lease obligations. Vacancy rates for first quarter to date are 3.97% for industrial, 7.83% for office, and 9.23% for retail. Vacancy rates have remained relatively flat across all commercial sectors for the past 2 years, with the industrial sector vacancy showing some recent increases as new industrial developments are completed and several 100,000 square feet of new industrial space enters the market. That's what I'm excited about. 2022 saw strong investments in commercial development, with over 570,000 square feet of newly constructed industrial space coming online for lease and purchase, bringing Simi Valley to a total inventory of more than 9.2 million square feet of industrial space. But wait, there's more. On this slide, you can see the project details and site map for the center located at 1800 Tapo Canyon, shown on the last slide during the opening comments. 5 buildings make up the new campus, ranging from 26,000 square feet to 135,000 square feet, with 5 different access points on LA and Tapo Canyon. The Tapo Commerce Center already has 2 tenants in place, with Four Wall Entertainment, who is relocating from Los Angeles, and Entertainment Earth, an existing business here who is expanding operations. They're occupying a 135,000 square foot building and a 67,000 square foot building, respectively. The remaining 3 buildings are in the final stages of obtaining occupancy and expected to be leased in the second quarter. Development continues in 2023 with more than 768,000 square feet of additional industrial space that will be coming online throughout the year, bringing the total amount of new industrial space in the city to more than 1.3 million square feet in 22 and 23. The largest of the 4 developments shown in this slide is the Easy Street Industrial Center at North Change and Easy Street. The Easy Street Industrial Center is over 500,000 square feet of industrial campus comprised of 6 separate buildings, ranging from 26,000 to 175,000 square feet. The complex will offer a wide range of use options capable of accommodating space needs as small as 3,800 square feet. And as you can see, if you drive by there, construction is already underway. All of this new business space means more jobs, and more jobs means the need for more housing. In the past year, 247 new homes have been constructed or in process, and another 573, including 19 affordable units, are in the pipeline. On the screen are just a few examples. As the community grows, its safety remains a top priority for the current City Council as well as the past. We are proud of our community and the support you all consistently show for our law enforcement team is amazing. As mentioned earlier, the City Council was fortunate to promote Charles Schwartz, or as we know him, Steve, to police chief following 33 years in law enforcement, 21 years of that with the Simi Police Department. Over the past year, the Simi Valley Police Department continued to move away from restrictions of the pandemic and return to normal operations. As a result, the department was able to fill vacant positions, expand community outreach and engagement programs, and return to proactive policing. In 2022, the police department continued to put a focus on social services, oriented policing by engaging in school safety and education programs, homeless engagement, and partnering with Ventura County Behavioral Health to assist mental health consumers. This is important. It's like the forward thinking, and what law enforcement means moving forward. Police department staff continue to actively participate in community events, including Autism Awareness Month, Mental Health Awareness Month. New efforts have been made to assist organizations with engaging youth experiencing poverty, homelessness, and abuse. These initiatives support nonprofit organizations such as Tri-County Regional Center, NAMI, the National Alliance on Alliance, and the Need for the Need Foundation. Gone are the days where officers were just employees. Today we recognize that the mental, spiritual, and physical health of our sworn and professional staff is of vital importance. Our personnel are the most valuable assets in a law enforcement agency, and that goes citywide. Our employees are absolutely the city's most valuable asset, and the job that they do is amazing. Our personnel are the most valuable assets in law enforcement, and the effective performance of our employees is essential to the success of the police department's mission to serve and protect the public. The department has improved employee access to psychological services, behavioral health and wellness programs, peer support programs, peer intervention programs, and chaplains to assist in creating a wellness-focused environment. The department also increased the number of police chaplains as a resource for police department staff and community members. Community outreach and engagement continues to be a high priority for the police department. The department sponsors and participates in several events each year where the public can learn about police operations, policies, and procedures. These events include Coffee with a Cop, Youth Employment Summit, National Night Out, the Halloween Drive-Thru event, Shop with a Cop. These activities allow the community to socialize with the police personnel in an informal setting and establish relationships. Crime, well, we don't allow crime in Simi. Right, Steve? Talking about low crime in Simi Valley doesn't really fall into the New Day theme because thankfully our law enforcement team has always worked hard to keep our crime rate low. But this year, once again, it's lower than last year. We are happy to report, that crime has decreased 3 years in a row since 2020. We attribute the decrease in crime to proactive policing and our ongoing partnership with our community members, which is an important part of policing. The police department maintains its effectiveness by building strong partnerships with community members and stakeholders in order to reduce crime and find solutions to other problems. Public safety continues to be a high priority for our residents. The police department continues to put an emphasis on proactive policing and address nuisances that impact the quality of life in our city. Department diversity, well, the police department experienced staff shortages in 22 due to officers retiring and leaving the state for economic and family reasons. The department's Professional Standards Bureau successfully recruited, screened, and hired 14 sworn staff and 4 professional staff members last year. The department anticipates being fully staffed by the end of 23. The department continues to put an emphasis on hiring a highly qualified, diverse workforce. Well, proud to say that our department is more gender and ethnic diversity than it ever has been in its 51 years. So. With a booming economy, new industrial space for businesses to grow, new housing options, and third consecutive year with lower crime, it's no wonder that Simi Valley welcomes dozens of film productions every year and has earned a reputation for fast, friendly service and permitting policies. Due to the city's unique geography and proximity to Los Angeles, filmmakers take advantage of filming opportunities in various locations in the city, including facilities at Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District and Allied Studios. Simi's has been a filming location of choice for several popular TV shows, including feature films such as Station 19, 911, Being the Ricardos, NCIS, SWAT, Tarzana, All Rise, Promised Land, and of course, the recent award winner, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And of course, many, many more. Although film permits issued in 22 are relatively the same as prior calendar years, the 89 film permits issued in 22 resulted in 1,643 days of filming, which is the equivalent of more than 30 full-time employees. Much of the filming that happens in Simi Valley happens on Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District. To tell you more about that, I would like to invite Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District Board Director Ed Avila to the stage.
It truly is an honor to be presenting on behalf of Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District at this event, and in particular because it's the first State of the City address for my friend and our new mayor, Fred Thomas. We really appreciate that. I don't know where he went, but it really means a lot to us. And I also want to congratulate Fred and city staff for coming up with such a great theme for this event. It's a new day. This is my 7th year on the park board, and for us, we have tried a new school approach that has worked really well for us. So it has been a new day for us for several years, but it continues to be a new day today, and we're so proud of that. And I want to throw some love Hani's way, my friend who I spoke with last week. He has something that he often talks about that resonates so much with me when he says, the biggest room in any organization is the room for improvement. I so agree with that, and I think anyone from the district who knows me knows that if someone comes to me and says, well, why do we need to change things? This is the way we've always been doing it. It falls on deaf ears, because what we're looking for is to find the best way to do things now and in the future. And that's what makes our district improve day by day. And I want to take that a step further. As leaders, we owe a duty to those who follow us to empower them with the tools to make our community better and bigger and brighter then we leave it to them. And if we do that, every day will be a new day. So part of our new school approach, in fact, it's the key to our new school approach, is that we emphasize the fact that our government, our park district, belongs to the people. And so today's presentation is going to focus on just a small fraction of the people who have made such a difference for our park district. And I want to start off, these aren't necessarily the people I'm talking about, but they are my hardworking colleagues on the board. So I want to introduce Chair Josh Gray is on his honeymoon in New Zealand. Vice Chair Elaine Freeman is also out of town. I'm the guy in the middle. The one that's a little interesting here, Director Brian Dennert is teaching right now, which is why he's not here. So I do need Hani at some point to explain to me. I mean, you couldn't find a sub for like, I know you run a tight ship, Hani. I know, and I appreciate that, but a sub for like a couple hours, maybe? And then finally, I'm here in attendance, my friend, Kate O'Brien. You know, Kate is one of the most open-minded people who I've ever met, and she is currently the longest acting serving member on our board. It is no secret to us that the reason people love our parks is because we keep them safe and we keep them beautiful. And on the issue of safety, I want to start off by congratulating Chief Shorts of the Simi Valley Police Department on his recent appointment. And also to thank you, your entire department, and particularly your brave officers, not just for the way that you keep our community safe, but we know that you take the lead role in keeping our parks and trails safe as well, and we recognize that and we appreciate that. But I also want to give a shout out to our rangers. What you need to understand is when I started on the park board, our ranger program didn't really have a clear direction. But that all changed about 5 years ago when Chief Jim Rosales was appointed our chief ranger. And he definitely made it a new day for our ranger program. One of the first things he did, and maybe the smartest thing he ever did, was hire Ranger Courtney Carnegie. Up and down the state, our park district is the envy of other park districts when it comes to dealing with the issue of homelessness. And I have to tell you that the chief and Ranger Carnegie bring a wealth of experience, training, and resources in dealing with homelessness. And for their work, they have been awarded. This past year, Chief Rosales was named Ranger of the Year at the Elks Lodge First Responders Awards, and I had the honor of presenting that same award to Director Carnegie last year. So thank you to both Chief Rosales and Director Carnegie for making it a new day for our Ranger program. But it's not just about safety. We have beautiful maintained parks. And, you know, for our board and our district, one of the most difficult times was also one of our proudest times. When we made the decision during the pandemic to safely open our parks and trails to the public, and we were more open than any park district in the area. And you know, our board is proud of that, and we're so proud of our executive staff. But make no mistake about it, it never would have happened without the work of our maintenance workers. While many people were home taking care of their children who couldn't be in schools or working remotely from home, our maintenance workers were out there busting their butts, cleaning bathrooms, wiping off plate equipment, and following government guidelines so that our parks could remain open to you. And one of those was Paul Friedeborn. Paul is a maintenance supervisor, but don't let that title mislead you. Paul is out in the field all the time. I can tell you, I was walking our Chocolate Lab Temu a couple weeks ago on a Saturday morning, and I saw Paul at the entry of one of our trails, And there he was leading a group of volunteers in a trail cleanup. That is who Paul is. He's also an Army veteran and does a huge amount of work prepping us for our important annual Veterans Day event. So thank you, Paul, for making it a new day at RSRPD. Before we get away from maintenance workers, I really do want to make one other point. We know that our first responders are heroes and our healthcare workers are heroes. But to this day, our maintenance workers are out there keeping our parks beautiful. I'm all for giving treats to our police officers. We should do more of that to thank them. But the next time you do that, maybe set aside a dozen donuts or a box of cookies or a handful of sandwiches. Take some time and go to one of our community parks and thank our maintenance workers. They will appreciate it and they deserve that. In recent years, we have emphasized recreation at our park district, and we have programs for all ages, children, teens, adults, seniors. There's two that I want to focus on today. One of them is our after-school clubs. I have always said and firmly believe that our youth is our future. And I have to really give Chair Gray credit. He has led the charge in making sure that our district can make those after-school clubs affordable for everyone. When you do that, you have to be really careful, though. You have to make sure that you hire the right people to run those clubs. And I want to introduce to you Aileen Ozuna. Aileen has worked at various park districts for the past decade. She joined us a year ago, and she joined us because she moved to Simi Valley. She wanted to live here. Our gain. Aileen now runs the Valley View Middle School Teen Club, and she has such a passion for working with teens. When she was in middle school, Aileen went through a counselor and training program so that when she became working age, she was ready to start working at park districts. And now we're bringing that program to our park district, and Aileen is playing a huge role in making that happen. Thank you, Aileen. A program that is near and dear to me and kind of left me for a long time is our alternative recreation program. When I was a youth, I worked with special needs students. And you know, it's not just that you're helping them, but if you're really paying attention, special needs individuals can help you. They can teach you about patience and happiness and embracing the moment. And it was a little over a year ago that Matt Mason took over our alternative recreation program. And what you need to understand is the pandemic decimated that program. Well, Matt has not only brought it back, but we have our highest participation ever in our alternative recreation program. We have popular weekly bowling days, popular dances on a monthly basis, and an annual holiday event at the Elks Lodge. Alternative recreation and special needs mean so much to Matt, and Matt, you mean so much to us. Thank you. There are so many community projects I could talk about. I've narrowed it down to just a couple, and I'm trying to focus on ones that are truly about the people. Within the next 2 years, we're going to be opening a large recreation area in our headquarters at the Activity Center. That recreation area is going to be able to serve programs and classes, activities, sports. It even has a gym. It's going to allow families to have all their recreation activities in one area, and we are so looking forward to that. I hope you are as well. It's going to be just a central location for recreation in our community, and we are so looking forward to that. And the one that I want to emphasize most is the Arroyo Simi Greenway, because this is a project that really hits at the whole heart of our district, our government belonging to the people. The Arroyo Simi Greenway is a beautification and improvement project that started as a joint effort between the city and the Park District about 15 years ago. And it got off to a flying start, but there hasn't been much movement in the past 6 years. I was approached by a concerned citizen who wishes to remain anonymous, and I truly respect that, who approached me on behalf of runners and walkers and cyclists a couple years ago and said, "Is there anything we can do about the Arroyo area between Sequoia and Tapo Street?" And a light clicked in my head. I went to our district manager, Dan Perenick, who just does a great job for us. And we took it to our board, and we found out that we had grant money for that project. We immediately approved it, and after that, the city immediately approved it. And that area of the Greenway should be completed and improved by the end of this year. But just a quick point, it gets even better than that. The City Council invited our Park District to make a presentation to them about the Arroyo Greenway. And it was met with such enthusiasm and excitement that the city has now taken the lead on the next phase of the Greenway from Tapo Street to the train station. We are so proud to be partners with the city on this great project. And if you don't already know, the use of that Greenway has just expanded exponentially since the pandemic. And now, as to community events. Behind me that is just a small amount of the community events in which we're involved. I wanted to speak about a couple of them today, and the first one I want to talk about, if there's anything else that you remember about today's presentation, I hope this is what you remember most. During the past 3 years, we have had an MLK Day of Service event. I'd like to tell you that was my idea because I'm so jealous that it wasn't, but it was Director Brian Dennert that brought it to our board. And of course, he decided to bring it to our board during my year as chair during the pandemic. But it was such a great idea, and it was such an important idea, that even though there was hesitation, we went forward with it. And we had our first MLK Day of Service in January of 2021 at the height of COVID restrictions. I want to share with you a brief quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that I read at every MLK Day of Service. "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love." I want to introduce to you Nikki Collier. Nikki is a volunteer specialist for our district. She has organized all 3 MLK Days of Service. And I have to tell you, a lot more difficult than you may think. The first one was faced with COVID restrictions, and the last 2, we've had a lot of rain on each one of them. But Nikki, in the true spirit of Dr. King, has persevered, and we have had great events. I'm most impressed, though, by that first event. Nikki and our staff had to deal with social distancing requirements and attendance requirements, and they came up with the brilliant idea that we would put families at various locations. And that's how our first MLK Day of Service began. Thank you so much, Nikki. Janine Garcia. Janine is not a member of our park district. She grew up here in Simi Valley, and she loves the outdoors, and she believes in keeping our trails clean. She volunteers for it all the time, and she has her 3 kids out there volunteering with her. When I was on that walk with Tamu and we ran into Paul near that trail, Jeannie was part of that volunteer crew. And Jeannie has also been a part of Janine has also been a part of all 3 of our MLK Days of Service. Thank you, Janine. Ivana Meyer. Some of you know Ivana. She's a recently appointed planning commissioner. She's a rising star, and she's so involved in our community. She could have had any justification or excuse for not participating in the MLK Day of Service. But instead, she did the opposite. She was all in. Not only was she ready to work, but on short notice, because of the rain, when we moved our ceremony for Dr. King indoors at the Activity Center, she was the one volunteer who showed up and stayed for the entire event. And I have to tell you, Director Brian Dennert, to honor Janine and Ivana for their service, This isn't going to mean a lot to most of you, but they received his limited edition prestigious golden trash grabbers. So I want you to take a look at these photos up here right now. These are the faces of service. 3 completely different people from 3 different backgrounds with 3 different roles. But when it comes to service, they are all equals, and they are all equally impressive. If I can get you to reflect, and if I could ask one thing, whether you are an elected official, whether you are a community leader, a business owner, a member of a service organization, a concerned citizen, to our friends at Simi Valley Unified School District, to our friends at the city, consider being part of this great event in future years. Together, we as a community have the ability to show everyone how to honor a great icon. At the same time, for one day a year, stand next to our neighbor, or maybe even someone we've never met, and show them what service is all about. This community is capable of doing that. Please join us in the future. I want to conclude with one event. And on this one, I won't be singling out any individual, because this is about all of you. It's about our entire community. You know, we've had a highly successful Music in the Park series over the years, a really popular one. And like everything else, it was tough getting people to come back to our concerts in the park after the pandemic. But we kind of felt things were happening. We really felt that we were back. We just needed confirmation. Thanks to a resourceful staff, including Richard Lemo, who's been my partner in crime here with the slideshow, we were able to bring back a popular cover band that really has become popular worldwide now this past August on a beautiful, gorgeous, warm summer night where our valley glowed. And when Yachtly Crew came back, the reception we got was exactly what we needed. It was our confirmation. Not only was our Concert in the Park series back, but we shattered all records. This past August, more than 9,000 people packed Rancho Simi Community Park to listen to great music and have a good time with each other. I walked that park, and there were people sitting in lawn chairs where you could not possibly see the stage. That is what our community is about. That is our community coming together. We are here for the people. We are about the people. And because of you, it is a new day, and every day can be a new day. So I ask, visit one of our parks, hike one of our trails, participate in one of our programs, attend one of our events, and whether you are a runner or a walker or a cyclist, whatever your form of mobility, come check out one of our newest and continually improving treasures, the Arroyo Simi Greenway. Thank you so much.
So our residents make our community what it is, and the city has always valued their perspectives. The city was founded on public participation, and the city council continues to look to the neighborhood councils, Council on Aging, Youth Council, and all of our other boards and committees for input. In environmental services alone during the past year, the city council appointed 35 new neighborhood council members. We also tasked resident volunteers with vetting applications for some of the city's programs, such as the Community Projects Grant Review Committee that recommends funding for various projects and programs serving Simi Valley residents. This year, 7 volunteers stepped up to help, and they recommended the distribution of $150,000 through the project grants for community programs and services, which have helped over 200 of our community members. The City Council also created a new home buyers assistance program, which will provide a 20% down payment to qualified, income-qualified households. I love hearing that. If there's anything when it comes to housing and stuff, to give somebody that opportunity to be that homeowner for the very first time is a life-changing event. The city is providing funds to the Samaritan Center to support housing assistance, food pantry, and case management. This renewed emphasis on community resource coordination will increase access to and identify gaps in services that we offer. Environmental service staff has been busy and is currently working with code amendments to allow food trucks on private property. I know they're pretty popular. Last year's microbrewery code amendment granted the opening of Nectar of the Gods, wine boutique, and hopefully more like it in the future. The Environmental Services Department works hard to be responsive to our local businesses and residents. This past year, they worked on 28 commercial tenant improvements, conducted 18,000 building and safety inspections, and made the permitting system modifications to improve service and turnaround time. With all the residential and industrial development throughout the community over the past year, our streets were a lot worse for wear. As mentioned earlier, the city has dedicated millions to improve our roads and walkways over the last year, and the progress is already visible. I'll quickly go through a few examples. Cochran Street, Sequoia to Tapo Canyon, Los Angeles Avenue, Yosemite to Cuner, Madera from Strathern Place to Royal, Stearns from Los Angeles Avenue to Cochran, and Sycamore Drive from Royal to Fitzgerald. Sidewalk smoothing and paving is happening as well. If you're a frequent pedestrian in town, you'll know the importance. Well, I'm going to go back to the streets. We have plans for many, many more streets in the community. We're not going to stop. We have some catching up to do, and we've got a commitment to continue to focus dollars in that direction so that we can continue to make a difference in our streets. I know it seems to be the number one item that I hear about, I'm looking forward to, and you should be able to see continuous project in the city in the year moving forward. If you're a frequent pedestrian in town, you know the importance of being visible to drivers. Improvements like these crosswalks make everyone safer. The street team has restriped crosswalks throughout the community this year. If you're a parent walking your child to school or your child walks to school, these are welcome changes. Speaking of schools, I'd like to welcome Hanny Yosef, Superintendent of the Simi Valley Unified School District, to tell us more about what's new with the district.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Mayor Thomas, and thank you, Ed. I know it's no fun being up here when you don't feel well. And good news is I'm perfectly healthy. No allergies or bronchitis, but thank you again for including the school district. When you have a State of the City event, I think it speaks volumes when you include the Parks District and when you include the school district in the day, because we're all partners, and that word's been used a lot today, and we truly are partners, and together, that's how we make our entire community better. That's how we make one another better, and that's how we make Simi the wonderful place it is to live, to work, and to enjoy. With that, what I'd like to do actually is show you the 5 board members that make up the trustees for Simi Valley Schools, and 2 words, leadership matters. 3 words, leadership absolutely matters. And these 5 elected officials, even though you see underneath they have assigned areas to them, C, A, B, E, and D, the 5 different areas that they represent, they don't represent their individual areas. Collectively, as a single governance team, the operative word team, they govern together. Not once have I ever heard one of these board members talk about their area or my individual schools in an area. They genuinely care about the entire school district, the entire city of Simi Valley, and they truly care about all 28 schools and all 16,000 students. So I want to thank Bob LaBelle, who's here today, and the other 4 elected school board members for their leadership. Because of you, we are able to do the many wonderful things that we are able to accomplish throughout Simi Valley Schools. And I'll say this too, even though sometimes elected officials may have an area of priority or a specific focus that they'd like to address, not one time has there been a hidden agenda or some sort of individual priority that's ever taken precedence over the collective whole. So for that, I want to thank you, and I want to recognize all of you for that. Our mission as educators in Simi Valley Schools, it's a very simple one, but it's a very profound one. We have a mission to support all students, capital A, capital L, all students to become the best potential version of themselves. That is our mission as educators. We owe that to our students to help them become the best potential version of themselves. And I would say this is a life lesson to all of us here, all of us who lead. All of us here have different potential. All of us here have different skill sets. All of us here have different abilities, just like all of our students. Those of you who are parents, you have children at home. You know that even though they have or may have the same biological parents, they have the same chores, the same rules, okay, the same core values, the same ethics, the same upbringing, all of our children are so very different. Now you take a classroom full of students with different backgrounds, with different skill sets and different experiences. Our charge is to make one another better. How can all of us not just achieve but exceed our true potential? And if we can do this, if we can carry out this mission, the youth that Ed was talking about, that's our primary focus, they will become productive members of society. They will grow up to be police officers like the outstanding officers we have here today, first responders like the amazing first responders we have throughout the city. So if we can just support all of our students to become the best potential version of themselves, our future collectively will be very bright. At the end of the day, folks, we're about changing lives, not just as a school district, but as a society. How can we change lives for the better? And it's important when we talk about the promises we make as a school district, about the commitments we have and what it is that we value and what it is that we're about. We talk about those things first because that's what I want our schools to be known for first. It's not just the number of schools, the number of students and demographics. Who are we as Simi Valley Schools? We are about supporting all students. We're about supporting all students to become the best potential version of themselves. And we're about changing lives, just like all of you do in your own workplaces, changing lives for the better. There's a 90-second promotional video that I would like to show right now. But before we show that, here's what I would like you to pay attention to. There isn't one actor in this entire 90 seconds. All the students in this video are our students. All of the adults are either our volunteers or our staff members, our employees. And as you watch the scene transition from one to the next, it's a match cut. It's one hand supporting the next. It's one individual transitioning to the next scene. It's exactly how we would love our schools to function, love our city to function, where all of us support one another. And what I'd like to do right now is ask that video be played, please.
At the Simi Valley Unified School District, we like to say, from here to anywhere. But it's more than just a catchy phrase. It's a pledge to support students with college, career, and life. It's a pledge that starts on day one. And carries through at every stage and on every stage of our students' journey with us. It's a pledge that commits us to feeding our students' curiosity in the classroom and to finding healthy ways to fuel their explorations. A pledge to give our students the tech they need to get ahead and to give our teachers cutting-edge tools to stay ahead. Our pledge is also a promise to prepare students to take the next big step in their educational journey and to take the smaller daily steps in their journey through life. And it's a pledge to include all students in the journey, no matter how far along they are. Finally, the pledge our staff makes is also made by you. Because to feel connected to their schools, Students need to feel connected to their community too. All of us in the Simi Valley Unified School District pledge to support all students with becoming the best potential version of themselves so that they can go from here to anywhere.
Ready to go?
All shot at one shot. Perfect. 90 seconds. That's it. Done. It didn't take hours or days or anything. So, but again, all of our students made up this video here. Not one student actor, not one adult actor. The technology that you see there, we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes here. The technology you see there actually is credited to all of you who supported the C4 bond and all of you who supported the Measure X bond, because we couldn't be able to provide our students with any of that technology that you saw, or even the writing surfaces that the student was writing on the table, without your support. And we'll get to that in a second here. Okay, the demographic piece of our school district here. I mentioned we have 28 schools. 18 of our schools are elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and then we've got a preschool, Justin Early Learners Academy, and an adult school, and then of course we've got our high schools. Santa Susana is our magnet high school, and then there's Royal and Simi, our 2 comprehensive high schools. And Simi Institute, if you've never had an opportunity to visit Simi Institute, I know recently we took Leadership Simi Valley to visit Simi Institute right across the way. It is an actual jewel for our city, and so much in terms of certification, in terms of work, and in terms of education can happen at Simi Institute. Please give it a visit if you have never been. In terms of staff members, we have 2,350 staff members, and I know that you see certificated and classified. Here's what the difference is. Certificated employees are the credentialed employees, those who are classroom teachers, those who are school psychologists, those who are administrators. And classified employees, those are the individuals, as you can see in parentheses there, who are not the credentialed individuals who make up our office staff, our custodial staff, our transportation department, walk-on coaches, and paraprofessionals, and our campus supervisors. So we do value the fact that we're the largest employer in Simi Valley, ballpark about 2,350 employees. And there is something that I mentioned last year at the State of the City. Last year, I showed you a slide, and we updated that slide with recent data. And what's important to note here is this, is in the middle column here, the most recent census, you'll see there are roughly 130,000 residents who make up Simi Valley. Of the roughly 130,000 or so residents, you'll see that 57% of them are Caucasian, Anglo, and then Hispanic and Latino make up about 25.8%. What's happening right now in our school district is not mirroring the larger city demographic. If you take a look at the far right column, you'll see that for the first time, our Latino student population is now the largest student demographic we have in Simi Valley schools. Last year when I showed this slide, there was an even split between the white students and our Hispanic and Latino students. And a year later, there's a slight bump in the number of Latino students. So this slide's important to everyone here and to all of us, because you can see the demographics that make up the city compared to the demographics that make up our younger student population. And post-pandemic, I know that Mayor Thomas was talking about some of the grant money that the city has received. Well, the school districts throughout the state of California and throughout the country, we also received some grant money to help transition schools back into in-person learning. And where many school districts, we've all done different things with our money, where many school districts use their money for potentially raises or other types of projects, here's what I want you to know about Simi Valley schools. The vast majority of the grant money that we received in Simi Valley schools has gone directly back onto our campuses or directly back into the classroom to support our students. And here's some, and I'm gonna give you some of the highlights here. Here's some of what we've done with that grant money that we've received. We hired 7 elementary counselors to serve just under 8,000 elementary students. They divide the 18 elementary schools between the 7 of them. We hired an additional 6 high school counselors. So you've got about 2,000 students at Royal, 2,000 students at Simi High, and roughly 1,200 students or so at Santa Sue. And the counselor to student ratio, we had to work on that to create a better balance to service more and to support more of our students. So we brought in 6 additional counselors at the high school level with that money. And we've got, for the very first time, 2 school social workers that are full-time social workers for us, and they actually address the most acute needs that students have. We call that a tier 3. There are 3 different tiers that we address. When you get to tier 3, that's when we're knocking on doors and we're, providing other services that extend beyond anything a school counselor can provide or a school psychologist can provide. We've now got full-time intervention teachers for students who need additional support in the math and English language arts in all of our elementary schools. The 9 PE teachers, why 9 PE teachers? At the elementary level, these 9 PE teachers go in and teach only physical education to our elementary students so that the teachers who are the teachers of record. So if I go in and cover a class as a PE teacher and I'm the regular classroom teacher, as a regular classroom teacher, I get to now collaborate with other teachers. So it creates release time to collaborate, to partner, to plan, and to actually work with one another, which is something that we can only do because we have those 9 PE teachers who come in, teach the elementary students PE, and it releases the teachers to do other work together. We've got a couple of positions that we added because, of course, anybody who understands when the federal or state government gives you grant money, they also give you a whole lot of additional responsibilities and grants to complete and forms to fill out. So with all that additional work and all the additional responsibilities, we've had to add a couple of positions with that grant money as well. There are roughly 1,000 public school districts in the state of California, roughly 1,000. 72% of that roughly 1,000 is in declining enrollment. In other words, year by year, they have fewer and fewer students. That is not the case in Simi Valley Schools. We're part of the 28% that actually has an increase in enrollment. Only 2 school districts in Ventura County, of the 22 districts in Ventura County, only 2 can say what I just told you. Simi Valley is one of them, and Fillmore, further west, is the other one. Everybody else, like the 72%, is in declining enrollment. So I want you to see something down here. In January of 22, so January of last year, we were at 15,613 students. Here we are. A little over 13 months later, and you can see an increase. I know it says 299, but I'm just going to say 300. We've increased 300 students from one year to the next, and we're just under 16,000 students. So that's something that we're very proud of, and it actually validates all the great work that we're doing as a community, as partners, not just as a school district. Universal Transitional Kindergarten. Okay. If you've sent your students to kindergarten over the years, the state of California now has what's called transitional kindergarten. It's typically your last year of preschool. So now, instead of starting school in kindergarten, you can start school in the state of California in transitional kindergarten as a 4-year-old rather than a 5-year-old in kindergarten. So 6-year-olds are first grade. So Governor Newsom has a bill in place that by the year 2025, 2026, every school district has to open its doors wide open, regardless of when a 4-year-old was born in terms of month, to 4-year-olds. So what we did in Simi Valley Schools, back to Leadership Mattering with our school board, what we did is we're not waiting until 2025-26. We are the only school district at the time, now others are following us, we are the only school district at the time, going back to last year, to not wait till 25-26. We just open our doors to accommodate all of our families who have age-eligible 4-year-olds. We now have 590 transitional kindergarten students, 24 total classes. We're taking enrollment now. We're ready to welcome another 550 and counting next year, 4-year-olds to Simi Valley Schools. And we believe that that level of service speaks to our mission to supporting all students to become the best potential version of themselves. The younger our students can join us, the younger our families can join us, the more we can partner together and we can validate and solidify that home-to-school partnership and to make sure that we're serving all of our students at the youngest age possible. I mentioned Measure X. Thank you, thank you, thank you for supporting Measure X. I cannot tell you how much of a game changer it is for us. So when that measure was passed in 2016 and we received that $240 or so million, we were given an opportunity to do so much for our kiddos. The C4 bond, okay, it didn't have all the bells and whistles of things that you can see, but the C4 bond gave us a great deal of the infrastructure needed, okay, HVAC. It's not, exciting when you put in an HVAC unit in a building, right? But we need to do all those things because you need air conditioning, you need heating. It's not exciting to run, cabling across your ceilings or plumbing under your grounds, but you need all of that. Running water, you need electricity, you need Wi-Fi. Now with the Measure X bond, we've been able to give our students first Chromebooks, individual Chromebooks that each student can have as their own. And now we've got Microsoft laptops that we've given our students, Microsoft Surface, is it Pros? I'm trying to remember now. Microsoft Surface Pros that we've given to all of our students as well. That could not be possible without the support of the community who voted for Measure X. And we are now more than halfway through. We have a goal of spring 2026, summer 2026. Every learning space in Simi Valley Schools will be modernized with brand new flexible seating furniture, soft seating, seating that allows students to quickly move into groups to collaborate. We've got, as I mentioned, the technology that's in place. We've got some of the writable surfaces. If you notice in the video, you saw a young lady doing math problems on a table, and that table is basically a writing surface just as you would have as a teacher on the board. So there's so much that we're able to do for our students and for all of our schools that's directly related to the bond, and we've got other projects in place. There's construction happening at Simi High. If you've ever been on that campus in the last year, there's construction happening at Royal. We've been able to put in a new NPR at Garden Grove, so things are happening. And some of the things that we're very excited about is this: an inclusive playground at 2 of our schools. I mentioned students have different abilities. We've got students who have special needs. We've got students who use walkers. We've got students who are in wheelchairs. We've got students who use feeding tubes. We've got students who need different levels of support. What we don't have are playgrounds to accommodate all of those needs. We've got 2 schools where there are populations of students who will benefit from what you see on the screen right now. These playgrounds are called inclusive playgrounds because they will accommodate students who do use walkers and who are in wheelchairs and who need other assistance. And of course, these playgrounds will be open to all students in the school, but they're specifically designed to support the students who currently don't have that level of support. This is not possible without all of you. This is not possible without those in our community supporting Measure X. Yeah, thank you. I talked a little bit about our goal and our vision to modernize all learning spaces. And by the way, it's not just classrooms that we're modernizing, right? We're actually going into our school libraries. We're going into our school maker spaces. We're going into any space that would be labeled as a learning space. That's where you're getting all the new furniture, and that's the new tables. And we now have sound amplification systems in all of our classrooms where a teacher can essentially wear a microphone and never have to raise his or her voice, and they could speak at a normal volume, and anywhere in that room, that sound amplification system will appear as if the teacher's right next to the student listening. So, and again, part of the bond. So with that, I essentially just want to say, when we talk about the home to school partnership, that is a game changer for how our students will succeed. And we do know that some of our students don't have situations at home that allow for them to be successful, which is why it's important for all of us as a community, all of us as individuals, to support all of our schools and support all of our students. There's so many examples, and I know that I'm going to, miss a few, but from, Elks to Rotarians to Chamber to just community volunteers, you do so much, and it is appreciated. You do so much, and you are making a difference. You do so much, and you are changing lives for the better. And that's what makes Simi Valley the wonderful and special place it is to live, to learn, and to grow. Thank you.
Before all you leave today, I want to make sure that you know that a new law known as SB 1383 requires that 20% of edible food that would otherwise be wasted and landfilled must be recovered. Many businesses in Simi already actively engage in a food recovery and donation program, but a countywide network is necessary in order to share resources and information, such as which food banks have room for additional food or are at capacity. This year, Simi Valley will join a new Ventura County Regional Food Recovery Program, assisting nonprofit and local government partners to increase our ability to recover edible food and help support feeding of those in need. Over 450,000 pounds of edible food was recovered by Simi Valley organizations and services in the first half of 22 alone. While these aren't new, I'd like to remind you that the city has multiple newsletters that you may find beneficial, specifically the Economic Development Business Newsletter for all of your business needs. The City Focus newsletter provides updates on recent City Council action, events, volunteer advisory board recruitments, and more. Sign up for either one on the city's website. There's no shortage of ways to contact the city. Follow us on social media, email, call, or visit the website. We're from the government, and we're here to help. But that being said, my door is always open. So if there's anything I can ever do, I'm ready to help. So I want to thank you all for coming today. I want to thank Dr. Yosef and Director Abla for their participation in this. I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation, despite the fact that this is exactly what I call death by PowerPoint. Anyways, I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you for being here.